A vote on whether the town of Londonderry should allow the retail sale of cannabis within the town has been postponed until October 20th because a public notice requirement will not be able to be met. According to a press release from the Londonderry town office, the legal warning and notice for the special town meeting was properly posted on the town's website and various public locations within the community, but it was not, and at this point cannot be published in the newspaper of record at least 5 days before the vote as prescribed by Vermont law. The town's newspaper of record, which must be authorized by the Select Board annually, is the Vermont Journal. The vote has now been rescheduled for October 20th, and a public informational meeting will be held on October 13th. If voters in Londonderry give a thumbs up to allowing retail cannabis sales in town, following the vote now rescheduled for October 20th, that would pave the way for allowing such businesses to open a year later, in October of 2022. Before the postponement of the vote originally planned for this Friday, September 17th, town officials held two informational meetings, on August 31st and September 8th. A no vote would mean the town has opted out of allowing such sales of cannabis. A no vote on the cannabis question on October 20th doesn't preclude the possibility of a subsequent vote to revisit the question. The vote on the cannabis question will also include a separate article on whether to add Londonderry to the list of towns which have a 1% local option tax. Currently, several neighboring communities, including Brattleboro, Dover, Manchester, Rutland, Stratton, and Winhall, also have a local option tax. In Londonderry, that would not extend to rooms, meals, or alcohol sales, which are special categories under the local option tax law. During the information meeting that was held Wednesday, September 8th at the Town Hall, Select Board Chairman Tom Cavanaugh described what was in play with the vote that at that point was scheduled for September 17th.
While the Select Board does not take a stand on how Londonderry's voters should decide on these articles, the following is information that should assist them. Article 1, Retail Cannabis Vote. A yes vote on retail cannabis would mean that retail sales of cannabis would be allowed in town starting October 2022. In order to open a retail cannabis store, business owners will have to acquire a state permit. Each permit will be valid for only one type of the business and conform with the town zoning rules. Retail cannabis stores will bring in new customers to town, both from neighboring towns as well as tourists. Many of those who come to town to shop at a retail cannabis store, if one opens in town, could potentially also visit other businesses in town, which could generate new revenue for the local economy. A no vote would mean that retail cannabis stores would not be allowed in town. However, that does not mean another vote cannot happen in the future. The Select Board can call for another vote in the future, or a petition with signatures of 5% of the registered voters in town could trigger another vote.
Much of the questions from the audience and the discussion afterwards centered around the local option tax proposal and what that would mean.
My wife said we're new to Londonderry, we're now residents here. But we've lived in 4 other states over the last 30 years. And all we've seen over those 30 years in those 4 other states is slowly increase taxes, increase budgets, increase spending, and always starting out at one level and ending up at another level. When we started in New Jersey,
I don't care about New Jersey.
no, I don't care either, but they had no income tax, now it's 10%. The point is here, 1%, you say it's only 1%. But, and I'm also in finance, and I can tell you, you have no idea, unless you've done some studies and projections, how much revenues you're going to get from online sales. You have no idea how much I spend online, or he does, or anyone else. It could be thousands. I know it's many thousands for us. That's not the point. And what commitment the board is making is where those revenues can be, where they'll be allocated, especially if they're hundreds of times more than you think, because it may well be.
It will go to offset property taxes.
Directly, reduce the tax rate?
Yes.
Because that's not clear in the
It says it will go into the general fund, which goes in as a revenue, which offsets the expenses.
And if you get $500,000, this is a question. Will it go to reduce the tax rate, or might you build another town hall? Or
It will go to relieve the tax rate. That's
right?
what the
That
vote.
should be specific.
Select Board members and other town officials who spoke to the question pointed out that without the local option tax, the town would gain no economic benefit from allowing cannabis sales locally. They have estimated that the town could realize about $111,000 in new tax revenue from sales from existing brick-and-mortar locations, and that did not include online sales or cannabis sales. Revenue from the local option tax would be transferred into the town's general fund, with an eye towards offsetting local property taxes. An earlier version of our report on the meeting incorrectly stated that the $111,000 figure included online and cannabis sales, but that is not the case. At this point, there is no way to know what the cannabis revenue sales might be.
Expensive. We got roads we have to pave. It's about $200,000 for a mile of road to repave. I mean, these roads are never going to get paved fully the way we go because we don't have the money. Unless we want to raise property taxes, and we try not to. I mean, this year, this budget, we tried our best to cut wherever we could because we knew everyone was hurting because of COVID.
Last year, we as a board, we bared down hard on the town budget. We did a lot of things that places, even in Weston or Manchester wouldn't consider to keep our budget down, keep tax rates down, because that is a primary concern for us.
Barry Randell was one town resident who expressed concerns about the proposed increase in the sales tax and where that revenue might eventually go.
But mostly, how the 1% local tax is going to be used. And I want it to be clear that it is used exclusively to reduce the property tax. Because otherwise, if it goes into the general fund and is used for other purposes, then it's not doing anything to reduce the tax liability. And Vermont already is the fourth highest property tax state in the country, so we don't need to pay any more property taxes.
Voters who requested an early or absentee ballot for the September 17th vote will be mailed a ballot for the newly warned vote as soon as possible, possibly as early as next week. Those who had not yet requested a ballot may do so at any time by contacting the town clerk's office. For the GNAT-TV News Project, I'm Andrew McKeever.